Hey everyone, happy Friday. You're here with me, Maureen Walbioff, Practical Wisdom for Nonprofit Accidental Techies, as we do on Friday afternoons at 12:30, except for last week, because I had a total epic accidental techie tech fail. I was here with Rachel. We were talking about video storytelling tips, some best practices, and just ideas that she has. And we had a lovely conversation by ourselves because Zoom did not properly push the feed to Facebook Live. So sorry about that for those of you who are looking for it. But Rachel is a sport, so she is coming back next Friday. She's giving me another chance. Next Friday, January 31st at 12:30, we're going to do a redo of what was a fantastic conversation, Rachel 2.0. So fingers crossed that the technology will work. Okay, today's topic is all about project management inside your organization, on your team. Who, might I ask, not it, is going to be managing your nonprofit technology project, whether it's a website redesign and build, or a database conversion, or you're moving into a new fundraising system or CRM. Someone on your team is going to need to play the role of an internal project manager. Not the vendor, partners, project manager. They're absolutely in there too and have a really big job. But right now, I'm working on a course, actually a digital course, that is going to teach folks how to manage a nonprofit technology project. The focus is really on a database or CRM migration for the course content, but it's really transferable to just about any kind of project work that you might be dealing with inside your nonprofit. I also, in addition to this, I also have several clients who are just starting their migration journey, as we're calling it, and they're all talking about who should lead this project inside our team. So, you know, all that project team stuff is swirling around me right now. And in some cases, people are really stumped. Who on earth is going to do this? Now, if you work in a smaller organization and it's you, yourself, and you might be laughing right now and thinking, oh, that would be a great problem to have. Who actually is going to manage this technology project? It's going to be me. Because there's nobody else to hand it off to. I got to deal with it. And this is for you too, even if you already know that you're the project manager, just because there's nobody else to choose. In many organizations, though, there's at least a handful of people who are going to be involved enough in the technology project work that you have some choice about who is going to manage your project, who's responsible for it. So today we're going to talk about what I believe the really big qualities are that someone needs to bring to the table and how they use them. I have opinions about this, which I will share today. So before I go over the 5 skills, let's talk about what a project manager's responsibilities really are, like cut and dried. They are responsible for the successful startup or initiation, planning, design, execution, monitoring, controlling, and closing out of a technology project from A to Z. They are there at the beginning and they are there shutting off the lights, holding a project debrief meeting when the project is over and you're physically, inside and using whatever new system you're moving into. They're where the buck stops. If there's a problem, they need to work with others to identify a solution. If there is bad news, like we're going over budget, often they're the person who has to carry that message up to leadership in a hearable way. So the project manager inside your organization really has a lot of responsibility. And they need really what I call these 5 essential project management skills. Let's talk about what they are. The first skill is they need to be detail-oriented. They need to be able to keep track of lots of little tiny details around tasks, around people, around decisions. And they need to sort of know where things are at any given point in what could be, a 4 to 6 month project timeline. So detail-oriented, number one. Number two, second skill they need is really what I call fierce time management skills. They have to be able to work the work of this project into their own calendars. They need to also do that with other people. So if you've got a development team who need to return a worksheet for something, or some field mapping stuff from your data team, and there's literally no room for that person to do the work, they've got to figure out in collaboration with that person how that work is going to get done. Often that means looking ahead. I can't do it in the next 2 weeks, but I lighten up the third week of February. Great, we're blocking time out, and that's when that work is going to get done. I'm going to update the timeline accordingly. That's a nice combo of detail-oriented and time management skills. Not that people have, an internal project manager is unlikely to have, 5 hours a week just sitting around waiting for work to do. So for that project manager, some responsibilities probably need to not happen or get shifted to someone else to set that project manager up for success. It needs to be realistic. The amount of work that they have to do needs to be able to be done without heroic measures. So fierce time management skills. Third thing that an internal project manager needs to be able to do is be people focused. Sure, it's a technology project, but mostly you're dealing with people who are making decisions, having conversations, and doing the work. So you need to be able to recognize and appreciate people. You need to be able to pick up when someone's frustrated or stuck and proactively try to help them out of their jam, whatever that happens to be. You have to be people-centric and be able to build relationships. So if you ask somebody to go the extra mile or do a little bit more, that warm, mutually beneficial relationship between people makes it easier for somebody to go above and beyond if you need them to. And that goes for your relationship with the vendor too, not just your team. They also need to be a clear communicator. They need to be able to state clearly what a decision just was, or what next steps are, or notes from the 90-minute power meeting we had to talk about how we're going to set up our membership program in our new system. Those are just some examples. You need to be clear so that people understand what you're talking about. You know that you are seeing the same thing in your head that they are, and everybody's sort of marching along with the same picture in their head about what's happening now and why. And then the last thing, this is like the icing on the cake of the internal project manager skill set. They need to be at least comfortable with what I call a splash of conflict. They need to be able to rise to the occasion if there's some friction or there's some tussling or your vendor is letting you down big time. You need to be able to wade in with a clear head and articulate what's going on, and not be afraid of, like, I don't want that tension splashing off on me. I'm just going to go let them work it out. They're unlikely to without some help. So you have to be okay wading in where angels fear to tread sometimes if the temperature's a little hot. So those are the 5 skills that an internal project manager or any project manager, in my experience, needs to have. Detail-oriented, fierce time management skills, people-focused, clear communicator, and comfortable with a little bit of conflict. Notice what isn't a skill here. I did not say the right project manager is your power user, the person who knows your existing system the best. Might not be that person. It's not necessarily the head of a department. If the development team, this is their budget that this project is coming out of, the head of the department, unless they're all those 5 things, are not the right person to be the internal project manager. If you've got an IT person who manages your systems and your hardware, they might be the right person. They might not be the right person. Just because they know tech doesn't mean that they're able to be a successful project manager, to get this thing off, rolling, and wrapped with everybody's sanity intact. Anyone really can learn how to use those 5 skills, right? Like, I've taught so many people and clients and employees of mine, coworkers over the years, to learn how to manage projects. I just figured it out by trial and error, did a lot of reading and self-directed training, but I'm not a formally trained project manager. I've just managed a lot of projects, fumbled a bunch, learned from them, and sort of added things to my toolkit as I walked along. But some people are just plain born wired like this, to be a project manager. Your job as your team is really about finding the person who's like that, the person on your team who has the most of those qualities available to you right from day one. The person who can keep things moving, the person who can keep people working together, who loves a good organization tool. You know, if you've got somebody in your team who thinks in spreadsheets, they might be that person. You might not have the people skills, so you'll have to work on it. And, you know, not everybody has everything in equal measure, so you'll have to figure out who you've got, what you've got to work with the folks inside your team. But maybe you're already known as that person inside your organization. Bring them in here, or they're already there because they can't stand anything to be disorganized, and they're already tidying things up on their own. You're looking for a tidier, not a person who leaves a mess. Those skills are used to deal with everything that happens in a nonprofit technology project. In combination, single-use skills, but you got to manage some really important things. You've got to manage the project plan and timeline. You need to assign tasks and follow things up. Are they on time? Are they late? Were they turned in sort of as a drive-by and it's not complete yet, not ready to use? Vendor management. You know, I've got a couple of clients right now who are really experiencing some early pains at the beginning of a project dealing with their software partner. And it's not pretty, and I'm not happy about it. So we're going to fix it, but you have to be ready to escalate things appropriately and not let smoke turn into a giant fire that, you know, destroys everything in its path. You've also got a lot of decisions that you're going to be making, dozens and dozens of little and large decisions inside a nonprofit technology project. So all of those skills, being a clear communicator, being okay with conflict, being a people-oriented person, you're going to use those to help your team guide decisions, get context for decisions. That way you're not facing what happens not infrequently, which is, you know, you give your requirements to your vendor partner and they build out something beautiful, beautiful donation form, super customized. Everybody would love to have this donation form in their organization, but the vendor didn't tell you and you didn't ask if that's extra. Is that included? And then you get a lovely surprise $5,000 bill for that beautiful donation form at the end of the project, and no one was expecting it. So you need to be able to ask the right questions and help people make decisions. You know, the donation form that you all envision is a fantastic thing, but we didn't budget for that. So what are we going to do? Are we going to add money to the budget? Are we going to scale back our requirements? Lots of different options. Got to get people to come together and make a decision. Another thing that a good project manager does is keep people moving along without drama. So in this example that I just gave of, you know, things are a little rocky right now with a software vendor and a nonprofit team, you know, flipping out is not helping anybody. A good project manager can stay chill, can flip out privately, what reacts appropriately. So when someone brings them maybe like a level 2 problem, they don't react like it's a level 10 problem. And they're essentially modeling the approach and the behavior that they're expecting to see from you and other members of the project team. The project manager is definitely not perfect. They are going to mess up and make mistakes just like everybody does. It's their attitude, how they carry themselves, and how they lead people. You know, project manager is leading people throughout this expensive, high visibility, and sometimes risky endeavor that nonprofit tech projects tend to be. Not everybody's cut out to be a project manager. I've known so many wonderful geniuses in my time who just were not detail-oriented. I've known great people-focused managers. They were fantastic, but they didn't have good time management skills. Their gifts lie elsewhere, and that's totally cool. Try not to put a square peg in a round hole. You are not going to set that project manager up or your team or the project up for success if you're like, well, this is all we've got. If you are in that situation, well, this is all we've got. I have Mary, I have Bob, that's who we have. There are some other options. Sometimes your vendor, your software vendor partner, can add more project management time and sort of help or add another body, and that person is really functioning as your internal project manager. So that's one way to do it. You can hire somebody like me to be a project manager. That's what I'm doing for some of my clients right now, is actually serving as the internal project leader, keeping the vendor on track, keeping all the staff on track, keeping things moving along. And also another service that I offer is coaching. So if you've got somebody who needs to be the project manager on your Salesforce move, let's say, and you want to make sure that they're going to be successful, but you don't want somebody else from the outside to actually manage the project, I do coaching for people, which means we organize ourselves a little bit at the beginning, and then the internal project manager absolutely leads the project, and a couple of times a month we check in, or if something's going south, we check in, and they talk about what's going on. I give them some advice. We come up with some solutions. So they've got some support to teach them some of these skills or refine some of these skills along the way. Whatever the mix that you use is, I hope that this has helped you see that, you know, one of the opportunities that a nonprofit tech project brings to your organization is an opportunity for the team to learn how to work together better. Shouldn't break people apart. It should actually tighten up that project team, make it strong, build some shared agility and new collaboration and communication channels and practices. Having the right person as that project manager in that internal PM role is really critical to be able to successfully conclude a project. So when you're getting ready to sign that contract for a new CRM or a new website or a new member management or event management tool, talk about it. In a parallel track as you're finalizing the contract, I want you to have some internal meetings where you talk about these 5 skills. Who's detail-oriented? Who's got fierce time management skills? Which person is people-focused, clear communicator, comfortable with a splash of conflict? And how do we support them so that they feel successful as they're, you know, shepherding us and our resources to a successful project conclusion? If you've been an internal project manager, successful or not, I'd love to hear your 2 cents about what that experience was like for you. What made the difference for you? Did you have a great vendor partner? Did you have a boss who was totally invested in removing barriers and giving you the resources that you needed? Was it an unpleasant experience or a challenge for you? Was the people management part, like, how do I manage people that I'm not supervising? How do I tell the director of development that they're, you know, they got to get on the stick because they're blowing all their deadlines? These are all things that really happen. So talk about it as you're thinking about your migration project. Don't wait until the last minute. Try not to just go, it's you. Do a little bit of thinking and a little bit of talking about who the right person is for this role. And make sure that that right person is leading. Oh, I feel so much better. I've gotten that off my mind today. It's sort of a science and an art figuring out who among the people that you have to work with should be in the internal project manager role. I hope this has been helpful. You can find out more about me at meetmaureen.com. I do this just about every Friday afternoon here on Facebook Live, 12:30 Eastern Time. And again, we're going to do Rachel Jelinek from Reflection Films, Storytelling Through Video, Tips and Best Practices, version 2.0, next Friday, January 31st. And I hope all of you have a wonderful rest of your day and a great weekend. And I will catch you next week. Thanks, everybody. Bye.